Welcome to KIllco. My name is Brian, and today is probably one of the most slapdash, chaotic, I don't know what the heck's going on, kind of days I'm going to have, I think, because it is New Year's Day of 2021. We made it! Yay! My New Year's Day certainly started off in a way that I didn't expect. Kind of got thrown a curveball, I guess. I don't know how everyone else is feeling, because a lot of people decide to indulge in the whiskey on New Year's Eve. Not always the best idea. I didn't really. I think I had 2 drinks in total, and it was fine. One of them was a little heavy-handed. If you saw the video I posted yesterday at 11:45, that was about it, where I had a good deal of larceny and finished off, where'd it go? This bottle. Oh gosh, everything hurts. Yeah, bottle down this guy. That was the end of my 2020, and the beginning of my 2021 was, let's just say, unexpected. Good evening. Welcome to an excuse to drink early for what I assume is going to be another Friday night on YouTube, because I think that's been the theme. My mustache is lopsided. It is bothering me. Because I was napping. It doesn't want to cooperate. Dead air. That's fun. Oh, so how my New Year's Day went thus far is, well, the usual crippling depression in the morning, where I just kind of stayed in bed for most of the day. That was a thrill. Nothing seriously wrong. John McKillen, welcome. But it's always hard for me to get out of bed, unfortunately. I'm used to it. Other people are like, well, you were stuck in bed. It's like, yeah, I'm stuck in bed. Did not want to get up. Not because I felt particularly bad. I was just comfortable and tired. But once I got out of bed, it was okay, I think. It was actually very okay. I found out I got the stimulus check today. That was nice. Ah, yeah, the Schlammerness. JJ, welcome. That is what I was worried about. That's why I don't feel too bad about being kind of off kilter at the moment. The way I'm feeling now is not because of last night. It's because of lunchtime. If anyone follows me on the Instagram, which I assume some people do. Oh, the story is I woke up, checked my bank account, found out I had $600 that I didn't expect to have today, but I do, or as to have some of that now. And I went, well, it's New Year's Day. What could I do to spend some of that money? Part of me wanted to go get whiskey. That's pretty much the first impulse. I was like, I can go buy whiskey now. Don't do that. Don't spend your $600 on whiskey. But I decided to get a good lunch, is what I decided. And I went to a nearby restaurant I enjoy going to, and I got myself a steak. I don't do that very often. Steaks are expensive. But I got a steak, and I had a beer, and then I also got a whiskey, which is where things went wrong, but also very, very right. I basically was like, hey, it did look yummy. Hello, Mom. That's Mom. Hi, Mom. I basically ordered an open 14 neat, as I've done at that restaurant before, but it's been, what, well over a year probably since I've actually gone there and had a whiskey on purpose. And I know they have open 14 there, so I had open 14. Except they gave me about 4 ounces of open 14, probably a little more than that, actually. And the beneficial thing is that this restaurant is a mile away, less than a mile away. So getting back home was not much of a concern. It was just, that's a lot of whiskey. So if you go to my Instagram, which I think is KIllco77, you can actually see a picture of the lunch I got there and the amount of whiskey that was poured. It was like that in one of, these kind of glasses. So it was, that much whiskey. Took me a little while. Yeah, it hasn't been much to drink. I was a little concerned. It was both wonderful and horrible. Richie Z, welcome. We are trudging into the new year with the story of whiskey, as always. But it was one of those situations where you don't know what to do. You're like, I have just been blessed by the whiskey gods with a ginormous pour of whiskey, and it is 12:30 in the middle of the day. And as glad as I was to have that much whiskey, especially Open 14, that's glorious stuff. If you've ever had it, and if you've never had it, I suggest giving it a shot someday. It's kind of expensive, though. I think it was $14 for one pour of that, but well worth it, because good God, I pretty much drank that. I ate the whole steak, and I ate my mashed potatoes and everything else, and I think it was broccoli as well. Got a cappuccino, which I actually still have some of it. I didn't even finish it. And then managed to finish off the drink, even though I drank it semi-slowly. But that's how my New Year's Day started, was a lot of whiskey and me being very tired when I got back. I realized I was like, I'm either going to feel like this for the rest of the day or I need to just nap right now. So I fell asleep for about 2.5 hours. And I actually posted this just before I laid down, because it's Friday. It's still Friday drink stream time, and I wanted to at least do something. I don't know exactly what. I never know exactly what, to be perfectly honest, when doing this, especially with drink streams. I know it's just kind of like getting geared up for the rest of the evening. I think the other people who stream typically on Friday are Trev Wilson and ADHD Whiskey. So I'm mostly just getting started for them, I think. I'm checking the YouTubes now to see what else is happening. I don't even know if anything's actually happening. I don't see anything, but I'm assuming they're going live too at some point. I know Trev hit 1,000 subscribers last week, so that's good. Yeah, that's how my New Year's went. It was very well and also terrible at the same time, because I was just inundated with the whiskey. And I kind of wish I had a flask at that moment. An empty flask would have been glorious. If I had one in my pocket, I could have drank some of the whiskey I had and would have been like, I'm going to try to pour as much of this in this tiny little flask as possible and then get out of here. Because you can't really be like, can you put this in a cup for me? I don't want to drink all of this now. Yes, Wheels, welcome. And also, yes, that was the dreadful problem. It was blatantly obvious a heavy-handed pour. And I don't know if it was done on purpose or by accident. That's the part that's making me wonder. Did they do it on purpose or by accident? Because that's a lot. And there's that mixed feelings of, oh my gosh, this is glorious. And also, holy shit, these people are trying to kill me. That's a lot of whiskey. I'm glad I had a steak, because I don't think I would have been able to safely get home if I had not had a substantial meal. It seems like a good idea, Ma, but it's also highly suspicious. You always hear someone's like, you have a flask in you? It's like, yes, it's empty. Yes, just in case. That's the only time that's happened this year, at least. And usually I haven't been going out to restaurants much at all because of last year. Not a thing. Right now I just need water, apparently. Ugh. But here we are, ready to begin the next year. I guess I'm technically having my second pour of whiskey now. My first pour of whiskey officially was the Open 14, which was amazing. But what to pour? I'm befuddled with my selection here. I did get something very special in the mail. I mean, I found something. I didn't get something. I mean, I found something. Yeah. It's beard oil, technically. It has a very weird name. What is that? Will it focus? Kill Karen 16-year-old. It's a weird name for beard oil. But I found that recently. I'll be looking forward to trying that. I don't even know if I'll like it. I assume I will. I've heard good things. It's a bottle that is shared throughout the community. So I hear. I'm terrified to review it because it's like, oh. Especially now, my mouth feels weird. It's like I took a nap because I had to. Now my mouth feels dry. It's like I slept with my mouth open. It's just like, which is, expected considering what I just did earlier. It's a very fancy beard oil from a very fancy place. I also got the weirdest thing in the mail. The weirdest thing I probably gotten was rainwater. Do I have the thing nearby? No, I didn't plan anything. So that's my life right now. Is this? If you're in the Whizzky tribe, you might have gotten one of these as well. Well, if you're in the Whizzky tribe Patreon, I should say. Some rainwater from Texas. I'm like, what do I do with this? Do I drink it? I was hoping it was new make, to be perfectly honest. That would have been amazing, but also that probably would have gotten them in trouble if they had gotten caught. Sending anything in the mail is a no-no. That's why we have to say it's a no-no. Don't do that, but also it's not a terrible idea. The secret of the world right now is, the complications with the American shipping system of alcohol. There's just, it's like, don't do it, but it's fine if it's a gift. I think that's the rule. So if it's a gift, it's fine. As far as I understand it, I got a lot of gifts over the past year. I'm still trying to decide what whiskey to pour. I still feel weird because of all that Oban 14 I drank. It was, yes, rainwater pure. Just funny thing is, the beard oil I have has a funny smell to it. I think it's like grapeseed oil or something. I can't really describe how it smells, but not a bad smell. It's actually a nice smell, but it's definitely messes with anything if I'm trying to do any smelling or tasting notes from what limited ability I have with that. Just like, it smells like the beard oil I use all the time. What does that smell like? Grape seeds. Oh. All right. What to drink? What is everyone else drinking, if anyone's drinking anything? I have a feeling Mother No. I want to do an actual review for that. I'll do that sometime soon. But I don't want to do a live stream review. I want to do a review of something. I thought about it. I did think about doing the Irish one. I thought about doing that too. Which is this. Which I got in my, what's the word? Unboxing video. No, we'd love to hear from our customers. There's a phone number you can dial in the back to call them. Or you can go to their website, or you can email them. Taylor@greatbourbon.com. I don't know if I've ever seen that on the bottle before. Contact us about the whiskey you're drinking. Huh? What? So just because of the amount of whiskey I had earlier, I don't want to try anything new and be like, I'm going to do a live review right now. No. If I try to review anything right now, it's just going to be like, it tastes like whiskey, reminds me of Oban 14. I might have something peated. I know I said I was going to have something peated last time I streamed, but I forgot what the heck it was. I don't know if it was Ardbeg or not. Because that'll at least wake me up a little and make me feel better. Kind of. I don't know if it'll make me feel better. But I'll just kind of... Old Pulteney 12. Have I had Old Pulteney? I think I'm thinking of Old Forester. Maybe. At the very least, I am pleased that I have gotten to 2021. It seems like it's a weird feeling because I know 2020 is officially over. It's done. It's done. And I have never really felt great about New Year's, as I hinted at with the video I posted yesterday. This time of year is never easy. It's just unpleasant. But for this is one of the first years I've been like, oh, good, it's finally over. Looking forward to next year. I don't know why I'm looking forward to next year because it's still, everything's still the same as yesterday. There's still problems, other than the fact that I have the stimulus check in my account, which is nice. Most of that's going to go to credit card debt, I'm pretty sure. And, to buy the basics, food and such other things. Stuff's still rough, we'll say, even if it's 20, even though it's 2021, things are still bonkers. But as I said, I have plenty of whiskey to get me through. But I have to decide on what to pour. I'm going to pour something fairly simple, which I think I reviewed. I don't remember. I have these minis too, which I should get rid of at some point. I have a mini Evan Williams while I still have a giant bottle of Evan Williams. That's a problem, although it's almost empty. Almost. Actually, it's half empty. God. Clean. Oh, you know what I'll do? I'll just do simple. I've been digging into this one. This is the one that was donated recently. It's been pretty good. I've enjoyed it. It's a classic. Some people can get it, some people can't. Just a small amount. Gives me a reason to have another one. Thank you, John McKellen. I'm glad you liked it. It was one of the first times, well, not one of the, I don't want to say first times. I've done videos where I actually prepare to some extent. Most of my videos are like, turn camera on, do a review, turn camera off. But this was one where I actually wrote down what I wanted to say, except it took me a number of days for me to try to figure out what I wanted to talk about. I still feel like I missed a few things, but that's the inner critic being inner critical and thinking I could have said more or could have ended it better, or, everyone has that. I think it's just that little voice in your head saying, you missed something, you son of a... Well, I don't think most people have that. Not to the extent that I do, where it's constant. I've tried to explain depression to people in a variety of ways, and one of the ways that I've been thinking over lately is it's like having a really awful boss. Like your boss is just you can't stand them. They're always criticizing you and berating what you do, and just everything you do seems to not be good enough. And that's the boss that you have to deal with every day. You go to work, or in my case, just exist. So this kind of hypercritical, unpleasant, hard to deal with thing living in your head. It's great. Not horrible, but it's, not great. Could be worse, as I like to tell myself. Could be much worse. It's still bad, but it could be worse. And I do have bad days, much worse than others. Today I'm functional to an extent, but also had that good grief of a open pour, and that's mostly what I'm just coping with at the moment. I was having had a fair amount of that, and my body is going, what did you do? What have you done? That was 4 ounces of whiskey that you drank within an hour. It's like, yes, it was. Thankfully, I had plenty of food in my stomach at the time. Otherwise, I had a serious problem. But I haven't eaten since, and that was around 1:30-ish. I'm tempted to get my espresso drink that I didn't finish, just because. Sweet bourbon. Someone, I think it was, gotta think, my brain doesn't want to work. I'm still not fully awake yet. I think it was Hot Butter Roll said something about grape soda. something like that. And for whatever reason, I just smelled that in my bourbon. But it's not grape soda. It's more like a grape lollipop kind of smell. It's sweet, but kind of fake grapey. I don't know why that's in there now. And it's the only thing I can smell. It's lovely stuff, though. If you've never had Eagle Rare, I recommend it. I did a video on it recently. I don't remember when. Last year, technically. Cheers to that. Cheers to all of you who made it through 2020. I hope everyone is well. Whoa. That'll wake you up. 79 proof. I think it's 45. I've forgotten what Oban is. That's what I didn't know at the time. That was one thing that concerned me when I was trying to figure it out. I had that giant pour of Oban 14, and I'm like, wait a minute. First, I actually had to go to the bar to make sure they had it. That was a moment. And I couldn't remember what it was. I couldn't remember if it was Oban 14 or Kalila, I think. For whatever reason, I get those two mixed up in my head. Do not know why. But I had to actually walk over to the bar and look. And unfortunately, because of the way things still are, even though 2020 is gone, the bar has these like plastic things all over it for people who want to try and sit at the bar. It looks dystopian future-like, as I mentioned yesterday. It's a bit weird. Looks a bit weird, feels a bit weird, but it's just how things are now. For at least the time being, I'd like to think things will get, I don't want to say back to normal. Nothing was normal about the way things have been over the past 30 or 40 years-ish, 50 years, most of my life. This is the stuff I like to talk about and like to think about. I think they call it ruminating, when you kind of get stuck on certain thoughts. 43%, okay. Woo. That's at least it's not 50, but that's why that hits so hard when I drink so much of it. But in my mind, it feels like the human culture is at a very weird turning point. I don't know if I'm calling this Whiskey Musings or it's just because it's New Year's Day that I'm thinking about the fate of humanity. But we've been riding along, at least in America, as far as I understand it, we've been riding along this kind of weird system, which I've talked about before, I think, where it's graduate high school, go to college, graduate college, get a job, work most of your life, get a house, have a family, have kids, have debt, get a car, get lots of whiskey at some point when you're like 40. That's optional, but that has been a thing in the American culture, at least, is the idea of, I don't want to call it improving, but financial gains. But as more and more people have gone to college, because that was the early thing, early in the days, you'd be raised on the farm and then you go to school and get you an education. And you graduate and you're a doctor. No, that's not quite right. But that was the general idea. Education leads to improvement, leads to financial bonuses and stuff. But in my world, that wasn't an option because of it just being a bad idea in my head and costing that much. Going from 18 years old to in debt for who knows how long didn't feel right to me, so I didn't go to college. Minor bit of regret. Also, I'm glad I don't have that debt because I have no idea what that would have been. And I'm pretty sure the college experience is not beneficial for one of my problems. When you have mental issues. And I think of some of the stuff I did during college years, just visiting friends on their college campus. And it wasn't good. I probably would not have survived very well in that scenario because of having to just living with someone you don't know. That sounds terrifying to me. And it's also something I think about now. the idea of having a roommate. It's like, no, having someone I don't know. No, Power Keeper, welcome. We're talking about the fate of humanity. I mean, we're talking about whiskey. I mean, talking about a number of things. 2021 is what we're talking about technically. So my question is, now that we're at a point where the industry is flooded with people with a college education, and they're finding they have just a lot of debt to pay off immediately out of college and not necessarily getting a job that'll help pay off that debt. It's a bit weird. I feel bad for the kids of this generation or the next generation or whatever of this era, because something different needs to happen. I don't know how. I'm not here to solve those problems, but it's just my own observation of things is that it's a little weird right now. We can't go along with this kind of, what I want to say. I want to say, what was the name of that show, the Love and Marriage theme song? Al Bundy, but I can't remember the actual name of the show because I didn't watch it that much. Love and marriage, love and marriage, da 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 da, the horse and carriage. This I tell you, brother. What was the name of that show? I can't remember now. I can see the name of it, and I can see it at the end of the song, but it's not a word I can actually physically make out. Something marriage. Something marriage? Oh, it's going to bug me until I figure it out. I can see it all. Something about the neighbor next door being a chicken. Good grief. Well, I mean, that's a guarantee. If we want to get real critical, yeah, humanity is doomed, but so is everything if you think about it. I've done that before. That's something I did often enough with Married with Children. There it is. I don't know why that took so long for me to come in my head, but I think it was Married with Children. Oh, Floydian Nose. Thank you. I didn't see that. And I didn't read that when I remembered. I probably saw it subconsciously, so thank you. And that was bothering me. Yeah, I get to ruminate over things. That's what I do best. Kind of mulling over the history of humanity. My camera's moved slightly. Just notice that you can see my starry night up there, and usually I don't have that in view. Hello. Usually it should be right about there. So you can actually see the whiskey more than anything. I don't know how that happened. Whatever. Dressing in late 80s, early 90s clothing. That was a weird time. No peg. Yeah. Welcome. There's no late to the party with this. You're here. You're here because you're here because you're here because you're here. I think most of you might have heard that song last night. Do your thing, man. This is a hangout stream / drink stream / so it begins. The so it begins is just because it's the start of 2021. And I wasn't sure if I was even going to go live today. How do I put this? I have tried to have some degree of regularity, but I've realized it's something I have to put into place, and it has to have an obligation to others because I am not good at doing that. And usually it's just Friday night, 6 o'clock, go live, and then Sunday, 6 o'clock, go live. Those are the two things on the weekends I try to do. And supposedly, unfortunately, I realized the last week or so they have coincided with holidays. Dusty Dan, welcome. Welcome to the party, man. Have a drink. Sit down. We're talking about life and reality. It's groovy. I'm talking about how I had too much whiskey today. Not last night, just today. Trying to hydrate. I think I feel slightly dehydrated. I don't know. trying to figure out how I got into Married with Children. Oh, yeah. The Fate of Mankind. No. I've been thinking about, at least today, slightly, last night, whatever, the whole debacle that is humanity and what we should be doing, and how, in my mind, the fact that the norm is to work your life away and then retire seems a little not. I don't like that option. Work for most of your life and then retire when you're 60 something. I'd rather not. I'd rather do something else. I'd like to see the world. That'd be nice. I'd like to visit other places, meet other people, try other things, try different whiskeys in different parts of the world. Huh. That's funny. Was she? I wouldn't be surprised. Voice acting is an amazing thing. It's one of the few things I like about the industries that are out there, is having the idea to do voiceover stuff or do. I don't think I can do audiobooks. I don't want to. I know my family can do it, and they have done it, but I don't have the ability to focus for very long, let's say. And it's not easy to read books when you're trying to and then they went to I wonder what I'm going to have for dinner. That's about as long as it takes for my distractibility. I actually have been watching Netflix stuff recently, and I have it set to 1.5 speed. So I don't know if you've ever watched YouTube videos or stuff at an accelerated rate, but it shows that you're really in a hurry or something's wrong where you can't focus long enough. Everything needs to go faster because you can't be bothered to pay attention to it, apparently. It's great. Yeah, that's the other one. There seems to be plenty of stuff out there. Just a matter of getting it to the right place. No, Mom, I don't want to deal with strict engineers. No. I want a nap. At least that's the feeling I have at the moment. That's just because I'm still groggy from earlier. I had plenty of sleep last night, too. That's the part that bothers me. I just woke up and had that idea of, I have money now. I'm going to spend it immediately. I didn't spend all of it. It's mostly going to bills and debts, as I said earlier. But I felt, there's something wrong when you're literally given money to stimulate the economy. And you're like, all right, I'm going to go to a restaurant. I'm going to have a steak. I feel guilty about having a steak. That's the worst part, is I had to bounce back and forth in my head between getting, a steak lunch, which is what it was, because I got there as soon as they opened almost, because screw being around people. And then I think the other thing was the chicken that they have is pretty good there, which is a Hawaiian chicken. So if you don't like pineapples, I thought about getting that too, and that was much less. Richie Z, Cindy is my mother, in case you haven't noticed. If you haven't figured that one out, she's here to hang out now. Weird, friendly reality questions. Ma, did Kevin get all his stuff? And how is everyone doing there? I hope they're fine. She'll know what that means. Everyone else is going to be like, what the hell? Reality. Yes, food is more vital than whiskey. But I was, like we said, I have a very stingy boss that lives in my head. And it's like, you deserve to have this delicious food thing. But also my brain went, what are you doing? You could buy other things. There's always that part of my head that's analytical. No. Just critical. It's like you could, with the amount it cost me to get all that food and drink, which was about $50, I think, for the whole meal. it was telling me quite clearly that I could buy so many more groceries that would last me so much longer if I had spent it on groceries instead of one meal. So, and that's not something I do very often. I do it often enough, but we're talking the $10 range. I actually have been going to, of all the horrible places to go, Denny's, to get breakfast takeout a little bit. And I have been dreading that ever so slightly because, not because I don't like Denny's breakfast. It's actually decent. You know, it's almost fast food, but it's almost a restaurant as well. If you've ever been to Denny's, you know. And it's cheap. Less than $10. It's $8 for a meal like that. Just going anywhere, being around people, doing things. Okay, Ma, bye. Thanks for stopping by. It's weird. No, I don't want to say it's weird having your parents in stream. I know ADHD Whiskey has his mother on stream numerous times. I see her a lot. I forget her name. I would recognize it if I saw it. If I saw it. Oh, we have over 10 people here. What are you doing? Are you sober? Are you sane? Do you have a drink? Have a drink, they say. I really do like Eagle Rare. Kind of wish I didn't because I know it's expensive. More expensive. That probably would have gone pretty good with steak too. But the Open 14 certainly did. And for those of you just showing up, the reason I'm kind of out of it is because I had 4 ounces at least of Open 14 given to me when I went to a restaurant today. And you can see that pour if you go to my Instagram, which is KIllco77, I think. Even my voice doesn't feel right now. It's just not gonna make it. It is KIllco77. Brian K. Hello, me. Oh, and there's a green spot or a blue spot. Very few things I want to try at some point soon, but blue spot is definitely on the list. Oh, hell yeah, Power Keeper. In my little world, sanity was not on the table. Sobriety was, for the most part. I certainly feel like I drank more last year than usual. I know I finished off at least 1. Did I finish on just 1 last year? I feel like I probably did 2. I had a lot of wild turkey last year, at least in the beginning. We're talking March through July, August. That transition phase where suddenly the virus was very prevalent and then everyone had to stay at home mostly. I drank a good amount. Oh, Stanley Wagner Jr., the legend. Welcome. I did enjoy the meal. But yeah. It was also weird to wake up and be like, that's $600 in my account. When the heck did that get there? Could have been more. That was the one also nagging boss moment where it's like, it should have been more than that. Like, yeah, I've been nice. $2,000 would have been awesome. I could have paid off more of my credit card debt. And I might not have felt as guilty about getting a steak because the steak was, what, $20 at least? It wasn't an expensive steak. It was a local restaurant priced steak, but it was, you know, growing up in the place I have with the kind of hesitancy to want to spend too much money because that's the kind of mental state I live in, is always fearing not having enough money. You're not prone to wanting to spend 20-something odd dollars on one meal. It's not terrible. And like I was saying, I go to Denny's and spend money on freaking dumb stuff like Starbucks. I've done that plenty of times. Too many times, to be clear. Even this year / last year. Ooh, can't even say this year anymore. I haven't eaten anything since last year. No. I'm looking up the price of the steak now. From the land, ribeye steak, 14 ounces, $24. It wasn't like I went to a steakhouse, but good God. And the poured whiskey was $14, but it was well worth the price. It's a good question. I think it said it was a Highland. I just looked it up earlier. I don't even know if it's an island. Double checking. Check the facts. Again, I am not good at remembering things, especially when it comes to Scotch, which is why I don't do. I'm about to criticize myself. I do okay when I do aquavitae quizzes, but it's a lot of guesswork. Dumb luck, one of 3 or 4. Oh, it tingled. Oban 14. Scotland Highlands. So it is a Highland, which is technically. Did we go over this? I think we've gone over this a few times. Highlands are Spacesides. Spacesides are Highlands. Supposedly. I might be thinking about the wrong thing. Blah, blah, blah. Well, there is info about the place, supposedly. The North Coast. Thank you, Palladium. That's right, they stole it from me. Those taxes. There is a certain. We are still living in that kind of weird dystopian where it's like, how much do the people who we elect make? What? Why? And then that moment of, and they got how much time off, and they can just decide not to work and not actually get things done. Why is that okay? Why is that the way things are? We've been over this. Well, I don't want to repeat myself, but also I have to kind of remind myself of what I've talked about before, where that weird moment when you look at Star Trek stuff, Live Long and Prosper and such, where they always review this period of time in humanity as not great. 2020 or not 2020, 2024 or something is one of the Deep Space Nine episodes that I watched that I love, where very telling. It was much like last year, where a certain someone died and there was kind of a revolt and very angry people and the want to change the society. People not having jobs and such, much like what we were discussing. People not making money and not having a job, not having a place to live. It's a lot of just not greatness. Trying to read chat. Reading chat is not easy. Even with, a few people. It's like I can't keep up. Yeah, I've never liked the idea of living paycheck to paycheck. That seems like a bad idea. It's just, you have to make money or else you can't live anywhere. Who made that rule up? Why can't you just have some place to live? That would be nice. Just a small place. It doesn't have to be big. My place technically is much bigger than I need. It's comfortable. Yeah. I wouldn't have been surprised if it was an island one too. But only because I looked it up a minute ago did I know it was the Highlands. And as I said, I get Oban 14 and Kolila mixed up all the time. Yes, who shall not be named. The Voldemort, or the if you've ever watched Pan's Labyrinth, you know what he looks like. Pretty awful. This guy. Go look that up. That's a little bit of horror for your nightmares right there. Good stuff. We're learning, folks. West Coast, across from Loch Linney, from the Isle of Mull. It's only stuff you can say in Scotland. And it sounds glorious, like whatever that is. Oh, it was on the west coast across Loch Linney from the Isle of Mull. Really? I hear fireworks. That was last night, you fools. God. Well, that's a little bit of a reminder of last year. Wasn't there a period in time, July 4th, where people are just putting fireworks off every night before and after July 4th for some reason? Because freedom. America, as they say. God. I don't hate this country, but I'm not very proud of it right now. I have no problem being American. I just have problems with America as it is at the moment because of things well outside my control. Here's the blip, if I can read all this without stumbling over my tongue, for Oban 14. Built in 1794 in the center of Oban as a brewery by town founders John and Hugh Stevenson. Those aren't very Scottish names. Oban occupies a unique but small town center site that prevents expansion. Well, that sucks. It has two small, rare, lantern-shaped stills. The whiskey is slow condensed in traditional worm tubs in the rooftops. I didn't know that. And I can only wonder what that looks like, and I'm curious. Roy could tell me. He's probably been there. Although Scotland was a huge place. Mm-hmm. We have one with an eye patch. There's one out there with an eye patch. As I said, yesterday in the video I did, it's freaking weird dystopian future we're living in, and we have no idea what chapter we're on at all. It's like, yes, 2020 ended. Chapter 2. Oh, what the hell? No, I don't. I'm extremely critical and very negative in my mind. But I always have a little bit of hope that things will get better and things will even out. Because they kind of have to. Otherwise, they're just going to get much worse. And I try to think of other generations of different times. Like the people who lived through World War II. That must have been a trip. And our whole military culture, that's a great thing. As much respect I have for people who are in the military, it's like, why do we spend so much money on war? Seems like a bad idea. We have a pretty crappy infrastructure. We should do something about that. We don't. We don't send money to supporting the poor, unfortunately. Which is me. Disabled and poor. Well, at least not wealthy. I can't say I'm poor when I have this much whiskey. But I don't have a job, which is bad. You need to have one of those, apparently. Oban Bay. West Coast of Scotland. I can just do this instead of trying to read the tiny print. The Isle of Mull is across the loch. It does have some salty characteristics to it, but only slightly. See if there's any. Oh, I said that kind of like, maybe it doesn't. And then I'm looking at the tasting notes here. The nose profile of Oban 14, since we're talking about it. Smoky honey, orange, and dried fruit. Yes. The flavor, which I remember distinctly, I feel like it's still on my tongue. Smoky, pepper, oak, honey, salt. And the finish, salt, smoke, oak, spicy, pepper. The official overview. Color is olive gold. Yeah, it is. That's a color I'm not going to forget anytime soon. Official nose, rich sweetness, and fruit orange, lemons, and pears with sea and peaty smokiness. I guess that's why I like it. It's kind of fruity and peaty. Just a smidge, not too much. Official taste, mouth-filling dried figs and honey-sweet spices, followed by a smoky, malty dryness. And the official finish, long, smooth, sweet finish with oak, wood dryness, and a grain of salt. Also true. More tiny print. Yes, it probably would be. I mean, my real concern, I suppose I'll say, is the way we often, it's Pink Floyd kind of stuff, man. It's nothing new. We don't need no education. We should have an education. But the poor going to war for the ones who are nowhere near having to go to war, that's a problem. And people having a lot of money who are not really concerned about the way things are. They just kind of like the status quo. Trev Wilson, welcome. I hope you had a lovely New Year's. I think I saw you last night on Bourbon Bites. I know I did. And I was on Bourbon Bites briefly at the very end for the countdown, which was a nice change of pace because honestly, most New Year's Eves, New Year's things I'm just asleep, or it's one of those things where I go, oh, it's 12 o'clock. Don't normally care. So it was one of the few years that I was glad to see it be over and was happy to spend it with other Whiskey 2 peoples. That was a nice change of pace as well. So we're talking about the military and war and being poor. That was another thing we touched on. I was talking about having Open 14 for lunch, except it was about 4 ounces. If you want to check my Instagram, there's a picture of it. It was like, I showed it earlier. It was just like freaking one of these type of glasses, but like that. I posted the picture next to an actual pint glass. So that was good. That kind of gave a very good idea of the amount that was in there. And I'm glad I made it home. Because, oh my gosh, that was a lot of whiskey. We have some eagleware in the glass, if you're wondering. Yeah. But you can't learn anything if you're not well educated. And even if you are well educated, you're too worried about being in debt as soon as you get out of college. The endless cycle. I mean, part of why I do my own streams is not necessarily just to be whiskey talk. I like talking whiskey. I definitely do. It's a whiskey channel, technically. But a lot of it's just kind of venting and airing my own grievances. And one of the key things that I think is wrong with how things are at the moment due to the pandemic is you don't have any positive reinforcement and community stuff because you can't see people. Like you can't interact with others who are thinking in a way that is similar to yours, but not always similar. You like to have disagreements slightly. If you don't have disagreements, things are going to go wrong. But you need to have that well-being that comes from others being like, yeah, I agree. Things are not great, or things are okay, but could be better. Or what are we going to do to improve things? The community, I guess, is the rough part. We don't have a solid out of our internet box here community that we can deal with as much because there's a pandemic going on. It's not great. We're very fortunate that we do have a whiskey community that we do, but the core of it all is kind of flimsy at the moment and hard to deal with. It's part of why I felt bad that I couldn't go do any protesting or go out in public over the past year. Like last year was pretty full of protests, and I would have wanted to go and protest as well because things are messed up. But I already have enough problems with leaving my apartment before the pandemic, so it has not improved. Even going out for lunch today, there was that part of me that was like, don't go to a restaurant. Don't go out in public. There are people there. They could be sick. You don't want to get sick. I don't want to get sick. No one wants to get sick. But because it was noon, I went there at like 12:30. For one, I was surprised they were open. New Year's Day, a restaurant's open. I'm going, well, what? Is that normal? Probably. But I also was anticipating that most people would not be awake and would not be functional because they had too much drink last night. I was doing the cards, I guess I'll call it, the variables that my mental state like to have in mind. Like there is part of my brain that spends a lot of energy analyzing when people will not be places. Is a nice way to put it. Where I try to think about time frames and I spend too much energy worrying about when people will be around already. Now that there's a pandemic going on still, it's even more so. One of the good things that I do is thinking about school. Like, what time are the buses going? When should I not be driving? When should I be driving? Rah. Yes, because I'll be sitting down. I think one of the one parts that was kind of bothersome to me was only at the end of my meal, where I had finished everything and I drank all my drink and I'm just sitting there kind of going, I did it. And then, of course, a family of 6 comes in and they have to, sit them all less than, 10 feet away from me. And I'm just going, I don't want to be here anymore. Granted, that was after I was done eating, and I had been, the restaurant itself was not busy at all when I got there. It was like me and one other person who was on the other side of the room. But still, you don't want to be around people right now. And the initial thought for this meal I had today was to go and get takeout. But there was this is the critical part of my head that was like, you're not going to eat a goddamn steak at home in a takeout box. Just eat it there. It's early enough. Everyone's still hungover. It's hopefully no one's there. And it was fine. But until those, that semi-bit crowd of people came in, I was just like, oh gosh, why? 6 people. I don't get it. Alcohol does kill germs. And I had more than enough of it in that glass to kill brain cells and germs as well. Everything's takeout now. That's what I do. And even when I do takeout, I don't want to, because there are too many people at restaurants who are eating like everything's fine. I don't understand. I don't understand. As much as I enjoy the regular idea, the 2019 idea of going out to eat right now, it's just not a great idea. Oh, and I forgot to say the price of Open 14 is around $65, $66 or more. Probably more. That's right. It's science. Science. I don't know if that's true. Probably isn't. You should ask your doctor. Get a medical opinion. Hello, doctor. I drink a glass every day. Yep. And kills the germs. I think they would disagree. Well, that's fine. It's fine. As we were saying, things are, even though it's 2021 and everything is supposed to get better, there is still a lot to be done. I would like to think, if I'm being optimistic, which I'm not very good at, things might improve by autumn, maybe. But that's being as optimistic as possible. We're still in kind of especially in Rhode Island. In Rhode Island, we're in a bad spot. The pandemic is not good right now. And it's only getting worse because of the fact that people are indoors right now. It's weird. It's so weird. It's a weird thing to think about. And the very good thing, of course, is that we have the shot in the arm. Why can't I think of the word suddenly? Vaccine. There we go. That took a minute. There you go. Have a drink. It's fine. That's the medical opinion. Have a drink. It's fine. Not too much. Anything done in excess is not good. I know a lot of the ADHD and Hoppity Roll have excessed themselves in some extent, and now they're getting on the train with trying to lose weight. Good on them. I kind of feel like I should do that as well, but I'm also I'm in the Facebook group and I'm seeing the weight that these guys have, and I'm just like, wow, how? I feel like I can barely function, but I weigh about 175 pounds ish, and these guys are far beyond that, I'll say. And who knows how they got there? Whoa. Man, they might be saying something. Good God. Was that on Discord? I know I looked, but I wasn't feeling very sociable after the ball dropped. And also, I'm not a very social person in general. So I know people had their cameras on. That would have felt weird. Zoom calls feel weird, and even with Bourbon Bites things, it was seeing the kind of Partridge family set up where everyone's just kind of like sitting there the whole time. Whoa. Speak of the devil. Moderation. Moderation is key. Bubble bath bourbon, welcome. Have a drink. In the bubble bath, as you do. Well, so that was his thing. I was there for a brief bit of that early on for about, I think I made it to 1:30 in the morning, my time. Because officially when Bourbon Bites and the whole thing was like 3, 2, 1, Happy New Year. It was actually Happy New Year, Happy 2021 for me because I'm East Coast. But for Papa to Rolls, I know. I think I stayed. I did stay. I stayed until about 1 o'clock and a little bit after that. But I was winding down quick for some reason. I got tired. Oh, because I was up early, which has been the thing lately. My sleeping schedule is, of course, biznonkers, as I like to say. Oops. That is a problem. It's not a bad problem to have, but it's a problem. I'm going to watch everyone on YouTube tonight. Funk. I try to avoid getting slammered, but as with the lunchtime experience today, I certainly wasn't slammered, but I was concerned because I had to drink that much whiskey fairly quickly, much quicker than I wanted to. Even with the whole steak in my stomach, it was one of those, am I going to be okay with this? Because this is a bad idea. And that's happened to me only a few times. Very few times in my life have I actually been, someone's gone like, here, funk, here's your whiskey. And I've gone, part of me is very joyful, like, holy shit, that's a lot of whiskey, amazing. Another part of me is, of course, going, that's a lot of whiskey, and you still have to drive somewhere. That's not good. That's a problem. You better drink slowly. Ugh. Both good and bad. Very good and bad. Here's something I have to wet my whistle, as they say. If you watch my Instagram at all, I had the 24 days of Texas whiskey last month. I had one every day up until the last few days. I think it was the 20 blah, blah, blah. Yeah. Like the last 10 days or something like that. What was it? The 17th through the 24th was where you could have two of them. But anyway, a whole bunch of chocolates in here. Yeah. It was actually given to my father for Christmas because my mother bought it for me, but I already bought it for myself. But my dad can't have chocolate / whiskey very often right now because of his issues. So I got it. It smells amazing. I'm going to have 1 or 2 of these now. Lucky me. I'm trying to decide which one to have right now. I guess I'll just go along with what's left. My dad, it looks like he had the last 2 real spirits. I had the first 2 already. I will go to Blackland Distillery and Crowded Barrel. Yeah. And there's the little thing, if that's going to show up at all. Showing the camera. From bottom to top. So we're in 3-4. Should be right here. And again, this is some quality chocolate, and it is full of whiskey. So there you go. I hope they do this again next year. I don't know if I'll buy it because it was really stupidly expensive, but it's really good chocolate. It really is. I don't know where they got it. I'm sure it'll tell me if I actually look it up. Oh, here we go. Quintessential Chocolate Co. Fredericksburg, Texas. Liquidchocolates.com. It's all in the back. Thank you. Stay. There we go. Typing is going on. Ooh. That's on my list, Richie Z. Russell's. I don't think I've ever had Russell's, and I know it's a Wild Turkey product. It's on the list, as many things. There you go. Oh. Oh. So what, they want to play beer pong? That sounds awful. Evan Williams Green Label I've never had. But I'm fine with Evan Williams White Label. Even though some people don't like it. I'm fine with it. Because it's cheap. And high proof. Yes. That is one of the things I guess I'm supposed to get used to. In the future is to pour whiskey into a glass and then to sip it. And people just look at you like, what are you doing? How are you? How? It's like, well, have you noticed how when people drink shots, they go like this and then they go, oh, oh. That's probably not the best way to drink liquor. That'll get you drunk and make you get sick real fast, but it's probably not the ideal way to enjoy the product for what it is. So I'm enjoying the product and a little bit of chocolate here, and this makes a lot of crunch, so I apologize for the crunch. Mm-hmm. That's good. Whoa. Ooh, sugar. I'm awake now. No. I'm not sure if I played beer pong. I probably did. Really? Probably why I've never seen it. To put it politely, Evan Williams Bottle and Bond is bottom shelf. It shouldn't be. Some people would agree that it definitely is, but as far as being a fairly decent bottle and bond product that you can get for $15 or less, you know, people got priorities. See, this is what happens when you sleep on the pillow. Your mustache goes all crooked. It's bothering the hell out of me. Now it'll bother all of you. Ew. It's the one thing I don't understand about shelf turds is their enjoyment of Fireball. And I just... Why? So many better things in life. Yeah, that's the funny thing. I've never seen it in the wilds. It's already been an hour. How did that happen? Doesn't take much. Let's just start talking about things. As much as I like Aquavite stuff with called the V Pub. The funny thing about a pub is people have interesting conversations and sometimes very, I want to say heated or dicey or, there are conversations that are had at pubs where people get some fights. Sometimes politics, sometimes all that crap. I don't like talking politics, believe me. But it is something that weighs heavily in my mind constantly because of my situation where people have to understand I am someone who is mentally ill, living in a country with a really poor health system, who is supposed to survive off less than $1,000 a month, which I'm very thankful to have because it's on, it's Social Security, disability, SSDI. But the system's kind of fucked, to be perfectly honest. And trying to find work when you're even labeled as disabled is bad. They'll give you a job where you can, go get grocery carts all day or something. Those are the kind of job options I have. Anything that requires too much effort, it's just not great. The heck? When did that happen? Trevor, you in here? Trevor, if you are, I just got not a notification, but I happened to glance at my Instagram thing, and there you are. The Bourbon Wrench is on Instagram. Alert! Bourbon Wrench is on Instagram. They get wasted. Yeah. These kids. Stanley Wagner never played beer pong. Or flip cup. Quarters and thumbkin. I don't know what those are. I have heard of quarters. I don't know what thumbkin is. Ugh. Yeah. That is the other topic we'll just glance over quickly is the American drinking culture. Not great. I don't know what it is. I have a feeling it's because of the whenever you tell someone not to do something, they are bound to do it. And they are in the American culture I live in, you cannot drink alcohol till you're 21, but you can join the military at 18, I believe. That's one of those things where I just have a mild problem there. I can join the military and go die for my country, but I can't have a drink. There's a problem there. But in European countries, I think they're pretty lax on alcohol being a taboo, where they have wine with dinner and such, and kids can have wine if they want. Just most kids who have wine or beer or liquor at a younger age will taste it and be like, yuck, and this tastes awful. But if it's something that's denied and has delirious effects that people younger than you might notice, they may go a little ham, like we do in this country, where they have the whole, you've been drinking illegally in high school probably, and then you get to college and you can drink as much as you want, unsupervised. Not a great combination for things to get done. That's why there are a lot of problems right now in that regard. Not so much as, well, now here's the thing. I don't know anymore. When I was growing up, it was pretty obvious. Casey had the bat stuck in my head again. There you go. You had a good cigar. It's something. I don't do cigars just because I have a thing about nicotine. There is an addictive strain that runs through my family, and I've lost too many family members to cigarettes and cancer. So I know cigars aren't exactly the same, but putting any money for nicotine products, rather not. I'll have a cigar if someone gives me one, but that's about it. That's rare. I think it's happened maybe once or twice in my life. Good grief. I'm right near Boston. I say near Boston, but it's an hour away. Oh, gosh. Those kids have to find games to, because that's another interesting little bit of American culture there. They have literal games they play to get inebriated rather than just sitting down and having a drink and having a conversation. They have to have some bravado about it, I suppose. There you go. If you're tall enough to put money at the bar, I like that. And it's not discouraged nor encouraged as far as I understand it in Europe. It's like, okay, here you go. Have a drink, Timmy. Just one. You're not allowed to have two yet. Grief. Yeah, it's a little discrimination there, isn't it? You're not tall enough. It's like, wait a minute. I'm 50 years old. Well, can you reach the bar? No. Oh, sorry. Not a good thing. Oh, 3 months. All. Alliston. Ooh. I have another candy to eat. I think that was a Crowded Barrel one. And Mother Russia, drink have you. Ha! That's pretty funny. If it's true. And I wouldn't put him past him. I can understand that. Beer being 5%. We don't know. Let's check the obviously unflawed and unbiased Google. In what country is beer considered soda? In what country was beer? That is Russia. So says Google. All hail. Or at least they did. Why Russians finally decided that beer is alcohol? Until Russian President Dmitry Medvedev, beer was considered the same as soda and sold just about anywhere. The more you know. Ow. Punching my microphone. 2011. Ooh. Here's the funny thing. I used to think pretty negatively about Russia until I talked to someone who actually lived there for a number of years. And he was also someone who was in the military for a while in Russia. I don't remember why, but they have an interesting culture over there, to say the least. It's just as messed up as American culture. So there you go. Take that for what you will. They really like vodka there. Strovia. In Russia, beer drinks you. In Mother Russia, beer drinks you. I remember Russia being called something else. Was it the Soviet Union? Something like that? I'm going pretty far back in memory here. Back in the younger days for me, I know it was something else. 1991. That's why it's in my head. The Soviet Union lasted from 1922 to 1991. So in 1991, I was 11, and that would not have been on my radar. Politics, all that kind of stuff. It always feels weird to call it Russia nowadays, although it's more than just that. There's a lot of problems over there. They got plenty of stuff to worry about. Ow. Should be getting distracted by the internets. Beer is soda and vodka is water. Don't mix them together. That was one of the things I did when I was younger, was mixing. What was it? Vodka and twisted tea, I think. I also liked having cider, hard cider. That was a thing I did for a while. I can think of a number of bad things I did when I was younger. I didn't drink much beer. I only drank beer when beer was my probably late 20s to mid 30s kind of thing. Not even mid. I mean, I have beer in the fridge right now, let's be honest. But normally I do not. I do not have beer around typically. It's one of those things where it's like, I can drink this for the next 30 minutes until it gets warm and tastes gross. I know the ones I have at the moment, there's one that's 8 point something %, so it's a stout. And then the other one is like 4.5 or something, and that's a blueberry beer of some sort that has been changed recently, and I'm not happy about it. There you go. I have a feeling they wouldn't put vodka in Glencairns, but they might. Don't know. Potatoes. Well, if that's the case, why don't they make more vodka in Ireland? I can remember the first sip of beer I had. I don't remember what beer it was, but I think it was in my friend's backyard when we were out camping, and we had somehow gotten this garbage light beer of some sort. It tasted awful. It didn't taste awful. It just was. Well, you've had beer. You have an idea what it tastes like. I remember it being very. Was it wheat flavored or, it was not a good taste. I remember that much. Even thinking about it now, I'm going, oh. Maybe. I wanted to have potato today, but they didn't have any yet. Part of my lunch meal, which I was talking about earlier, was going to be a baked potato. But it takes a while to make baked potatoes, and they didn't have them ready at 12:30, half an hour after the place opened. Oh well, it's fine. It's fine. Let's scoot over and blocking my whiskey here. What did one thing I wanted to ask a few people is what you had for your last dram last night because that's a thing people do. Mine was Wild Turkey 101, unsurprisingly, which is my default lately. And I did finish off that bottle of Larceny, but I actually put it in a old-fashioned drink of some sort because if you noticed in the video I did yesterday, it was a big, substantial pour. And I took a few sips, and I was just like, I'm going to have to drink this faster than this. So I made it into a cocktail, and it was lovely. Potatoes. Boil them, mash them, stick them in a stew. Oh, I want a stew now. Actually, I know exactly what I want, but I can't remember the name. And it's terrible for you. What the heck is it? Comes in a red and white can. Oh, it's going to bother me now. Did I mention I have memory problems? I kind of do. Damn it. I'm thinking of a very specific beef stew in a can, and I can't remember the name of it. And the only reason I like it because it's like beef, potatoes, and carrots, and that's all. That's all it is. God dang it. Ah, yes, Powerkeeper. You had limited options. You didn't plan for it exactly. You didn't have a flask in your pocket full of good stuff. I was on a stream, so I think I poured 101 at that point. Dinty Moore beef stew. That's right. Yeah. Yeah. Good stuff. Probably full of sodium and horrible things. No? At least get to try about Bardstown. Bardstown. I have yet to have Bardstown. I hear good things. I know ADH Whiskey does stuff with them, or will do stuff with them. Lucky Dog. Although he was like, oh, doing that kind of thing would freak me out. That would have been a true waste. Bring anything good to that kind of party. And like, let's do shots, man. Yeah, come on, you shot. Well, you're just sitting there going, what have I done? Well, that's the feeling I get very often. I'm trying to remember if I ever brought a bottle to a... No. Again, I didn't go to college. I visited my friends who were going to college, and I can remember only a few different scenarios where we were at parties of some sort. I have one that was probably a frat house. That was not fun to me. That was, as I mentioned, my mental health is crowds, people, loud noises, not my thing. So, frat parties were not exactly ideal for my mental health at the time. I remember just feeling very uncomfortable having some kind of red plastic cup in my hand and sipping out of it and being like, this is gross and I don't like this place. It's very loud. It wasn't fun. It wasn't horrible, but it was definitely not. It was an experience. I'll give it that. And I think I only did that once because any other time it's like, why would I go back there and do that again? That was awful. I haven't seen Bardstown around here yet. I know it exists, but that's it. I stick to what I can get. I especially stick to what I can get when there's a global pandemic going on. And I only go to about... I've only gone to technically 2 liquor stores over the past year. No, 3. Maybe 3. I'll say 3. But they're ones I've been to numerous times. One of them I haven't gone to numerous times. One of them I've gone to twice, but they had this. Smooth Ambler. When Whiskey Vault was doing their promotion with Smooth Ambler, I wanted to try it, and I found out that there was a bottle I could get down the road at a liquor store I've been to once where I actually got... What did I get there? I think I officially got Connemara there. So they have things, but they are also kind of overpriced. But... ugh, that sounds awful. Glorious and awful. Learning experience. That's what that is. Dancing with the pole, there's nothing wrong with that. It's when you fall off the pole and break your neck or your your ankle or something, that's when there's a problem because you've got too much to drink. Memories, those were the days. Oh. You know, I found I have a fear when sipping my whiskey is that I feel like I should just do this to nose it, but I've watched Rex and Daniel so many times, and they're just like, got their whole nose in it almost. It's helpful to do that, like just smelling the whiskey like that. It smells glorious. But I got a big nose, so it feels a little weird. Also, the glass is resting on my mustache. Got a nice little buffer here for that. It's part of my nosing technique, just rested on there. It's fine. Ugh. Nobody knows. I got to clean my apartment. This place is a mess. Oh, the things to do in 2021. It feels like when I look at my apartment, it's kind of like everything just paused in 2020. Nothing's actually changed. Well, that's changed. I have a what do I call it, bookcase full of stuff. Well, full of books technically, and DVDs, honestly, that I set up. But that was a pile of junk earlier, so that's good, I guess. Still a bunch of junk there. Whatever. Things to do later when I have the energy, which is never. To be honest, do I have the energy? No. Did I get out of bed today? Yes. Do I have the energy to do something else? No. That's what I'm dealing with so far today. Is I don't know what other people have done on New Year's Day, but for me, it was just get out of bed. That's enough. And having that lovely lunch and that lovely pour. That's the kind of the good thing. I want to. I have mixed feelings about that pour and that lunch I got. It's like, oh man, that was amazing. What a great way to start 2020. And part of my brain's like, you got inebriated at lunchtime, and you had a hefty pour, to say the least. I left a good tip. I'll say that much. Good grief. That was part of the deal. Was go to have a nice lunch and then leave a big tip just because I could. Very rarely can I do that. I never. It's usually when I can do that. The only reason I can do that is because of the stimulus money, which I got this morning, supposedly. Good way to start the year. Just $600 in my account. Part of me screaming that it should be more, but it's just me. Ah, yes. The joys of our youth. Reading chat. Whoa. All right. I remember having a girlfriend once upon a time. I would not go wake them up. Usually they'd be awake. If I remember. I know I had some interesting dreams recently. That was weird. Like dreams of physical contact is the nice way of saying it. I was like, how do I remember what that was like? Apparently I still do. Oh, that's what it is. I realized I was doing a comparison in my mind unintentionally, but I have these kinds of chocolates compared to those Texas whiskey chocolates. And although these cherry chocolates are okay, they do not compare. They are just sugar and probably corn syrup, because everything's made of corn syrup. Let me check. Blip. Lots of sugar, milk powder, soy lectin. This is very exciting stuff, I know. High fructose corn syrup. There is a problem when you put high fructose corn syrup in everything, especially candy. It should not be in there. It should be chocolate, quality chocolate, but it isn't. It's sugar-fied chocolate. So they're fine, but I like stuff like Ferrero Rocher. Those are pretty good. I don't think that has corn syrup in it. I certainly hope it doesn't, or else it doesn't matter what I'm saying now. In my unawareness, that's fine. It's fine. Trying to go back to the topic we were talking about an hour ago. About the situation of the world. We need to fix the world with whiskey somehow. I don't know how, but we'll try. It's one of the ideas I liked about the Texas Whiskey Vault or Wizard Academy is being able to work, whiskey samplings into business stuff. That seems like a good idea because people are a little more, I don't want to say malleable. It's not quite the word I'm looking for. But you want to have a relaxed atmosphere. And a good way to do that is just have a drink or two. Not too much. Have it in a fancy manner where they think they're having an experience. It's a good thing. There's a beer called Lucky. It seems like something that would be a mistake. People who drink a lot of Lucky beer, I think it was a good thing, and then get slammered and fall all over themselves. That's the one good thing about being my age on New Year's Eve is that you're just like, do I want to get trashed? No, definitely not. Most of the time you're asleep when it happens. I'm pretty sure last year I fell asleep early for the whole New Year's Eve thing because last year I was not in a good headspace. Again, I've mentioned it in a few videos. I lost my pet cat a little over a year ago, so the 19th of December last year. So anything after that, up until about, let's see, maybe April, is just kind of a blank. About 4 months of my life there, I don't really remember what happened. Other than things getting progressively worse. I seem to remember coming out of this like horrible depression in April, and it's like, oh, by the way, now that you're feeling better, pandemic. Oh, didn't get better. That's how 2020 started. For me. I mean, I know there are a lot of other things that could have happened. Sorry about that loud noise. But it's a funny thing. I don't even remember what kind of beer that was available to me back in the day. I do remember some kind of hard cider that isn't around anymore. And I also remember specifically standing out front of my friend's house, not his house, but his parents' house. And for whatever reason, there was a soda. We were talking about soda beer earlier. So there was an actual soda that looked like, came in what looked like beer cans or beer bottles. They were not beer bottles. It was definitely soda. But we were the type of kids who had that mentality of like, it looks like beer, but it isn't. And I have a feeling once the cops were called on us because we were all sitting out, I think we were playing hacky sack or something. And we had these, what looked like beer in our hands. It was just soda. I don't remember the name of the soda, but it was pretty good. And the police showed up and was like, hey, what are you doing? It's like, playing hacky sack, officer. And he's like, what are you drinking? It's like, soda. Can I see that? Yeah, sure. It's hilarious. That's the bored little tired community I lived in growing up. It was this very secluded, relatively safe, very, very white everywhere kind of thing. Because you have to remember, Rhode Island is a very small place. And then you have certain chunks of it that are actually islands. So I can say officially, I grew up on an island. It's a weird thing to say because it was still connected by bridges and such, but it is one of the many islands of Rhode Island. And it's a fairly secluded community with very bored police officers with not much to do. So I guess that's a good thing. But also, I seem to remember we got in trouble with them a number of times. I never got put in jail. That's the one good thing. I never got arrested technically for anything bad back then. But my friend definitely did because we like to have parties as we got into the high school times. And by parties, I mean like there was a close-knit group of 5 of us, and we used to have parties above his garage. And I think we had at one point probably 20-something odd people there once. And of course, we got busted hard. But the only one I got in trouble was the person who lived there, which was my friend at the time. That was bad for him, but I was 18, so I technically didn't get in trouble. I was legally an adult, so I could do what I want. But anyone who was under that kind of had their parents called on them, which sucked. Oh, those were the days. Getting in trouble with the police. And I say literally in trouble. Like nothing really bad happened, but still at the time it was tragic. Oh, the party's busted up. Oh my gosh. Those were the days. I'm double checking things now because we're closing in on the 2-hour mark ever so slowly. Trying to see who else might be streaming. Some people are. Looks like Greg's Whiskey Guide was streaming a little while ago. Oh God, he streamed for 3 hours. What the heck? I think he's over on the other side of the pond. France? I don't remember. I can't keep up. I can't. I'm not going to try. What? Oh my goodness. Well, ADHD Whiskey's got something oddly planned tonight, supposedly. And that's at 10. It says something about scotch. And in my mind, he's a fairly strictly bourbon person, so that's surprising. That'll be interesting, if I can make it that long. Again, I haven't eaten anything since 2 o'clock today. I should do that. I should do something about that. I know I have something I can pop in the microwave or the toaster oven. That'll tide me over. That's also why I only poured myself a little bit of whiskey on top of my lunch whiskey being, 4 ounces of whiskey or more. Eagle Rare is so good. I can understand why people kind of hunt it down to some degree. But as was mentioned in, I think it was a Whiskey Vault episode recently. Certainly not today's, because if you watched today's Whiskey Vault episode, it was a weird one. It was one of those videos where you have to have the sense of humor, and some people would probably not like it, where it was literally just that. Dead air, quiet, nothing was happening for 15 minutes. And all you heard was those kind of noises. Hilarious. Both glorious and terrible, I think, is the comment I left. Where it was pretty much the sounds that I'm always cutting out of my videos, or the lack of sounds, put into one giant video, which is funny. Nice way for them to do stuff. Did he? I mean, I've been incapacitated for most of the day. I'm skeptical. I have a feeling, again, I thought he was mostly just bourbon. So him trying any kind of scotch, especially a peated scotch, is something that just makes me go, what? And the Wee Beastie, from what I hear, I haven't had it, is it's kind of, rough around the edges for a younger peated scotch. People have said things. I've heard things. I haven't tried it. I have the Oogie. Oogie. This is the one I like, because I'm not even sure how old that is. But I will pour some of that with him if he's going to have some. I'm expecting to see Trev go live in about 20 minutes or so. I don't know. He did pop in here briefly. I can't spell. I wonder what it is about when you hit 1,000 subscribers, because Trev's hit 1,000 now. And he just keeps going up. I mean, what is it about that? Because he doesn't actually make videos. He just does live streams, which is why I like doing live streams. It's much easier. And you get all that view time. I mean, most of his earlier videos are from years ago. But he started doing actual videos 4 months ago. Well, not actual videos, lives 4 months ago. I'm sure that had nothing to do with the pandemic. It had everything to do with the pandemic. Oh, that is one way to start the year. Yeah. I mean, that's what moderators do. They're just kind of like, hey, it's good to know he's there, you know? It's always nice to have someone who's moderating things just in case. For me, so far, in the handful of things that I've done stream-wise, nothing's gone haywire. There's very few people I've had to be like, bye, Funk. Blending tonight. Is that what he's doing, Stanley? So that's the one thing I have a problem with streams is where I just want to talk about the state of the world and whatever's on my mind in the moment and have it recorded for all time. But I feel like that's what makes me not so much of a whiskey tuber, is I'm not doing the whole. I think I don't want to do the whole spiel of top 5 bourbons or what's my top pick of 2021. It's like, it feels insincere. It feels very, what's the word? It's good. It's certainly good to have those out there. But when you have so many whiskey tubers doing the same thing, it's like, well, having the difference of opinion is definitely good. But I've never felt the desire or need to make that because I have never once in my head thought, these are my top 5 bourbons for this year. That's never a thing. Or these are my top 5 whiskeys in my head. I've never had that thought. I just know what I like. Like I've said numerous times, I like having Wild Turkey 101. I was just talking about how I like EO Rare, which is a fairly new one for me. But I don't know. I've done it. I've definitely done a few of those type of videos early on. I think well over a year ago. And I liked doing them at the time. But now with my health and with the state of the world, it's kind of, it feels like a plug or it feels too much like an advertisement. And as someone who studied advertisement for graphic design purposes, I don't want to do that. That's the one problem I had is I did learn some graphic design skills and such when I was younger. And the only thing I learned about it is I didn't like it. I didn't like the manipulation of people and the number of ways you can use in graphic design to get someone to buy something that they don't need, probably. I was like, oh, this is nice to know. And also, that was around the time I stopped watching television. So, once I realized how dangerous commercials are to one's mind, and I still get worried about stuff such as the other social medias. And if you haven't watched, to make a plug of my own, if you haven't watched The Social Dilemma on Netflix, give that a look. You'll have a very interesting view of this space. YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, all those places where you can have something advertised at you. And strangely, it happens to be along your needs and your wants, depending on what you've been looking up on Google and other places. I always find it weird when it's like, oh, I was thinking about having pizza, and suddenly Domino's and Pizza Hut stuff is popping up on my stream, on my Facebook and my social media feeds, and I get a little worried. How much do they know? No. I don't worry about it too much, but if you haven't seen The Social Dilemma, it's worth a watch. It's interesting. You're not going to change anything you do. That's a matter of fact. I still wake up and the first thing I do is look at my phone because it's right there. It's usually I'm seeing what time it is, like I am now. Yeah, what, 15 minutes? 15 minutes. I haven't seen Treb's thing. I feel like he has a thing coming up soon, but there we go. Lies and slander. I mean, good to know. I certainly wasn't there for that. Was that last night? Did something happen last night? I can't keep track. I will look into that. Thank you. That'll give me some insight because I have no idea. As I said, I'm just kind of, I feel like I'm the fan of whiskey tube stuff who's just doing this to do it and try to keep my state of mind in some kind of healthy manner. Doing something productive with my time is the nice way of putting it. Because there has been a good portion of my life over the past 10 years where I'm just not functional and I'm doing the bad things, which is it's something that people with mental illness often do, is where you pretty much dive into distractions. So much like what I do every day, I tend to watch a lot of Netflix, and I don't play as many games as much because that requires a certain amount of focus, which I don't have at the moment. Oh, it is. Is he? Why didn't I see it? Nope. No, I couldn't have been doing it at 7. It has to be 8. Hold on. Let's find out. Let's learn together, folks. Because there's mine. There we go. Yes, okay. Weird. He's already got 20 people waiting for him. What the hell? But yes, he will be going live in about 15 minutes. The Bourbon Wrench New Year's Live. 1,000 sub celebration. Now, I was going to say, if it was 7, that was 45 minutes ago, and I'm going to feel like a jerk. Not really. I always assume in the nicest way that in some way, shape, or form, I'm accidentally going live when other people might. That's the YouTube world. But for my channel anyway, I've been trying to get a time that's early enough where people are going to want to watch, but not to collide with other people's stuff. And Friday night's a good night for it. Friday night's a good night to have a drink. So I will stop in about 10 minutes. That gives me 5 minutes to get ready for that stream. Because that's what I do. Much again, I'm like the fanboy, not the fanboy, but I am the YouTube channel that likes to watch other YouTube channels mostly, or likes to be involved with them. I'm a viewer, and yet I'm a doer. That sounded good in my mind. I don't know if it sounds so good now. Whiskey Central's already there. What the hell? I'm peeking. Put that away. Gotta figure out what I'm going to eat. That's the big problem. I like how I talked about Trev's stream and suddenly there are less people here. It's like, ah. But that's starting soon anyway. And I'm already thinking about it, as any good viewer would. I don't know what he's going to do. You know, I'm certainly glad he hit 1,000, as did, who else hit 1,000 recently? Hot Butter Rolls hit 1,000 too. It's good stuff. But I feel like that's a very far off thing because, as I was saying earlier, I don't do the plugs and the things you're supposed to do to grow a channel. You know, there are things you can do to actually get people to get subscribed, and honestly, I don't have the energy. I don't have the focus. I'm too tired. But I am interested in seeing what you two talked about, Stanley. I have no idea what makes this channel interesting other than, you know, I'm trying to do something with it. And I have this weird stuff behind me. That's about it. That's about all. I got my creeper over here. It's all about the creeper. I should try to do a video, like even doing reviews. It doesn't feel advertisement-ish, but I know when you review something, there is that kind of hint of, is this good or bad? And people are mildly interested if they should try it. I know right now I have 3 bottles sitting near me, at least, on top of the special beard oil I got, which I'll show one more time. There we go. I don't know the proof on this. I assume it's 40 something. I'll have to look it up. But I'm happy to try that soon. I have many samples still. I have enough stuff just here available for Let's see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. My phone just went on my 6. My watch just made a noise at me. 7, 8, 9. 9. I have at least 9 different things I could review, in theory, over the next 9 weeks, because the the marathon that was December, that was rough, because a lot of the time I would just wake up and make the video for the next day, which worked, but also it was rough. It was good, but it was rough. So I'm more of a once a week person. I think I was gonna do. I'd started to think about doing them 3 times a week, but I found it's easier to do this live streams and such instead of making more videos. Because as much as I do like putting out video content, the streams are really kind of where it's at as far as the genuineness and the enjoyment and the interactivity and how you actually gain an audience to some extent. Which, if I ever want to make any money from YouTube, that's one thing you have to try to do to get that 1,000 subscribers and that viewer count or viewer time. That's what it is. I think viewer time. There are all these rules. People don't even know. People don't even know, man. They have no idea. If only YouTube would just give you money for making a YouTube channel, I feel more people would do that. And as someone who can't really work thus far, it's one of those things. Speaking of, I haven't had this going the whole time, but it's one of those little quirks. End of the year donations. Give me your money. No. That's the thing I don't like saying. I don't. I wish I had super chats instead, but I don't. I haven't drank all 9 of them. I definitely have them. Oh, there are actually 3 in front of me I forgot about. But no, I still have plenty of those. I have the Willet small batch that you sent. I know I did try one of them. Early Times. I'm looking forward to that one. And then I have samples other people gave me. I think JJ sent these. Like, this is a Weller single barrel. I still have the Elijah Craig barrel proof B520. B520? Hold on. Like, I don't want to drink this one because I know how precious people think it is, and some people actually enjoy it. But whatever. I have to drink them at some point. There's no point in saving them. They are meant to be drank. They were created to be enjoyed as a beverage, and there's no point in just keeping them to keep them. But I am looking forward to trying those in the near future. We got about a minute left, and then I'm going to call it so I can get myself situated. I should eat something, but I don't know what to eat. Again, having that giant steak for lunch, I'm like, oh, I just ate, but oh. Like Franklin, welcome, and yes, well, you've been here. But yes, that's the thing. I've heard such good things about B520. You don't want to be the guy who's like, I didn't like it. I don't think I won't like it, but there's that feeling. I'm going to finish off my Eagle Rare here. This is why like actual tasting streams go by so quickly, is that I have just been talking, having a lovely time, having conversations, enjoying each other's company, sipping some whiskey, hopefully. But it's come to a close. I will be going live this Sunday at 6 p.m. Eastern Time. As I do, I think It's Bourbon Night will be back then. I think. So I'm probably going to go live just before they go live. That's what I've been doing. Trying to keep some kind of regularity here. Ugh. But since, wow, time flies. I would like to. You know, the idea last year was to go to Kentucky and do a number of other things, but well, that hasn't happened. Someday travel will be a thing again. But since we're getting close to Trev going live, and since I have to get something else in my stomach before that starts, till next time, which will be this Sunday, by the way. Live long and prosper. Don't forget to be awesome. and I have to put things in the right spot. And sláinte.